I love that you have that assistant factor in there, because hate, I often find in my work, I deal with a lot of physical pain.
Mm.
And I find that hate is the assistant to panic in DEI, of the
Ooh,
panic
tell
of,
me more.
yeah, of like the fight or flight. What am I going to do with this? When we have physical pain, it often incites us to that that little bit of a gasp. And often it seems like pain makes you stop, slow down, potentially do something that feels very fundamentally threatening
Mm.
to who we think we are, this like this false image of self.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually brings us closer to maybe allowing ourselves to be weak or not perfect.
Oh,
And
I love that.
if hate threw away, okay, I'll never be weak, right?
Right.
I view hate as the like, oh, you want to try to get rid of that? We can do that. Sure. I'll toss it into the subconscious, into shadow, out it goes. But in reality, since you can't actually get rid of this part of yourself, it didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And so every time the body feels pain, it remembers, oh, yeah, I threw out this thing about me that I wasn't supposed to be. And then hate was the buddy that was like, yeah, I did that.
Oh, I
And
love that, Heather.
so often people come in and they can't stand hurting. Like the fact that they're in pain is so offensive
Yes.
that I always wonder, and I'm like, oh well, what's happening? And for some it's because it means they're weak, others it's because they failed. And it just, the hate lets them see how they threw away a part of themselves for this
Right.
like false image.
And that is has a very direct parallel with eating disorders. Is people come in saying it's this body that keeps me from being who I think I am or should be.
Right. And I reread the chapter on hate this morning before we did this talk, and Carla said that when we're in that suppression formed self-image of like, I have to be this version rather than the complete 360 radiant version, that's when we need hate to chuck out the other parts that
Mm.
didn't stand up to that full, this is my whole self,
Right.
quote unquote, good, bad, strong, cowardly, whatever.
Right.
And hate's the only one that can even try to get part of those qualities out of the picture.
Right.
So I like viewing it as that buddy too, where it's like hate is your really good friend.
Hate is a powerful, badass emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Badass in a good way.
Totally.
Right. When I love this conversation. When I started thinking about it, I thought I'd just draw it. So I just drew it, and it was like every emotion was coming in this is the little figure inside. And I drew anger inwards, hatred inwards, guilt, depression, sadness, grief, shame, suicidal urge, everything in towards. And then I thought, well, if all these emotions, we think that they're bad, that they're negative, that we shouldn't have them, then what are we going to do with them? The only thing we can do, we can't put them out. We have to just take them back in. And what I found is sometimes when people draw this and they realize that the emotions, that all these emotions are really vital aspects of actually of them, they're not going to get rid of them, and they learn to kind of love these emotions, the pictures start changing. And then it's going, these emotions need to take action, look out to the world, right? What suicidal urge, what needs to end, hatred, right? Can use it in a different way. And it's like, it's maybe because I'm teaching the workbook at the moment using this art, so I'm really, it is really beginning fundamental, what's an emotion, what's a feeling, and it's so simple, but I kind of feel like, so I wrote like, well, if I hate my emotions, I hate myself. You know, if I start to love my emotions, I'll start to have a different relationship with myself. So that was sort of where I started. I love Shane being a loyal assistant. That's such a good, going to use that.
Can we talk a little bit about maybe what is the opposite of self-hatred?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all right, here's kind of a baited question. Is self-love the opposite of self-hatred?
I was going to say self-acceptance.
I was going to say something along the lines of integration and acceptance. Yeah, like all the parts of me are here, not just out there, and I accept that they're out there, but like they're integrated and accepted. Because I find that, especially as I've been doing a training on internal family systems, where we get to know parts, and these emotions can very much be considered like parts. Like when we stop pushing them away and saying, you're bad, you are destructive, go away, and instead we take the time to get to know them and we face them and we dialogue with them, kind of like that loyal assistant figure, get it outside of us and have a relationship, they shift. They change. They're not who we think they are. So once we get to know who they really are, they join the rest of the tribe, the committee, the community, and they have much different feel and much different tasks and effectiveness when they are part of that community and working together, that integration, versus out there alone with their one tool that they've got, trying desperately to save the system in the one way they think they can. So that integration, I think, is a very important opposite concept for hate.
It's funny, what you're talking about could be applied to, well, our general lack of skills with emotions. Oftentimes people will have skills with maybe one or two emotions, and so they'll lead with that emotion with everything, right?
Oh yeah.
If you're good with happiness and you're like, everything is happy and I'm going to do this, and there's a lot of extra energy, but then it doesn't acknowledge all the things that you're kind of like leaving in a pile in your wake.
Right.
But the same thing happens with sadness and fear and anger and jealousy or whatever it is, that emotion that you tend to lead with. So,
right.
I mean, it seems to me you're describing very much an overarching pattern that applies to all emotions of, if you can accept and integrate all of these emotions, like Sue was saying, they're all part of you, then you are better able to accept yourself and like just be all of yourself, be a whole person.
Which is far from perfect, but it's whole. Yeah.
Perfect doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
We have another video.
We have another series of videos on that. Another favorite topic of mine.